I listen to Badu. She got my third eye on fleek, so I keep a third eye on you.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, misery bots of all ages, back again with another video. This time, we're talking about Mortal Kombat 11 sales and why they matter. On the internet, you'll hear the vocal minority talk about Mortal Kombat 11 is a bad game. You'll have people defend it, talking about, well, it sold 15 million units. Then you'll have the vocal minority say, well, sales doesn't matter. Just because your game sells really well doesn't mean it's not a bad game. Now, if they were talking about any other game, they would have a point. If you look at a game like a Call of Duty that sells 15 million units on average, you feel me? If it sold 15 million units, that doesn't necessarily mean that the game is good, because the game always sells 15 million units. Sometimes it sells 20, sometimes it sells 25, but Call of Duty tends to sell good regardless, you feel me? So even if it sold 15, 20 million units, doesn't necessarily mean that it's a good game. Same thing with games like NBA 2K and Madden and stuff like that. Those games sell dozens of millions of units anytime they launch. Doesn't necessarily mean that that iteration of the game is a good game. But we're talking about fighting games. Fighting games don't typically sell a lot. So if Mortal Kombat 11, let's say, sold 8 million units. You feel me? 8 million units, which is still a lot for a fighting game, more than your average fighting game. They may have a point in saying, like, yeah, it sold 8 million units, but sales doesn't matter. It's still a game. But Mortal Kombat 11 sold 15 million units. It is the 4th best-selling fighting game of all time. It is teetering on being the 3rd best-selling fighting game of all time. If you look here on this chart, in this website, which is VG Sales, I just simply Googled best-selling fighting games of all time. The first one, Video Game Sales Wiki. I click on it, and this is the chart that pops up for anybody who wants to come and look at these charts for yourself. But the 3rd best-selling fighting game is Smash Bros. For the Nintendo 3DS and Wii U, which is at 15.2 million. Smash Brothers is a juggernaut franchise, but that game isn't selling anymore. You ain't really buying any more Smash Brothers on your Nintendo 3DS or on your Wii U. Nobody's really buying that game anymore. And as of right now, Mortal Kombat 11 is still selling units. And it's only a 0.02 million units away from dethroning that level, that number 3 spot. So they're within the end of this year, by the end of 2024, it's a possibility that Mortal Kombat 11 could be the 3rd best-selling fighting game of all time, because Mortal Kombat 11 is still selling. It is hard to argue that Mortal Kombat 11 isn't a good game. It is very hard to argue that fact. You're gonna have a lot of the vocal minorities say, yo, just because a game sold 15 million units doesn't necessarily mean it's a good game. Bullshit. Bullshit. If Mortal Kombat 11 was as bad as a lot of the vocal minority would like to lead you to believe, within the first couple million units, sales would have dropped off tremendously. Tremendously. I mean, you can bring in the fact that, COVID was out. You can bring in the fact that it had a longer life cycle and stuff like that. But no, 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 that is not a good enough argument as to why a game that the vocal minority considers to be garbage and one of the worst fighting games in history, and definitely one of the first NetherRealm games in history, there's no reason why a game like that would continue to sell at a level in which, going on 5 years after its release, It's teetering on over 15 million units sold and damn near becoming the third best selling fighting game in history. Just to put things in perspective, right? Street Fighter 6 and Tekken 8 are good games. Those games sold as of right now is at like 2 million for Street Fighter, and I think it was like 3 million for Tekken 8. Those games got praised for their sales. Those games got praised for their sales. And those are at like 3 million. Now, is it possible by the end of Street Fighter 6 and Tekken 8's life cycle that they get in the hemisphere of 15 million? Not necessarily meaning that they'll sell more than 15 million, but is it possible that they'll get close to 15 million? Maybe. It's a strong possibility because Bandai with Tekken and Capcom with Street Fighter tends to do a really good job of supporting their games for a long time. I mean, if you look at Street Fighter 5, that game off the gate did not sell very well. It wasn't a really good game, but Capcom stuck with it. And by the end of its life cycle, it was a really good game. And it did sell decently. I think Street Fighter 5 sold 7.3 million units. So that's actually not bad, but it took 7 years to get there. You look at Tekken 7. Tekken 7, really good game at launch, was supported for years, damn near a decade, and it sold 10 million units. So, I mean, it's not a stretch to believe that Tekken 8 and Tekken and Street Fighter 6 will actually sell more than their predecessors. Will it reach 15 million? I don't know about that. I think it'll get close. I don't think it will pass Mortal Kombat 11. Now, the reason I bring those games up is those games are considered to be better than Mortal Kombat 11. Like a lot better than Mortal Kombat 11. And those games get praised for the sales that they're getting. Whereas Mortal Kombat 11, for the most part, especially by the vocal minority, never really got the praise it deserves for the sales it was getting. Like a lot of people would say, like, yeah, it's selling well, but it's still a bad game. It's hard to argue that a bad game will continue to sell 15 million units in a genre as niche as the fighting game genre. In a genre that isn't typically known to buy fighting games. In a community where isn't really known to where they're going to buy fighting games. If you look at the top 5 games, these are juggernauts. You talking about Super Smash Bros. Ultimate at 31 million. Smash Bros. Ultimate is a juggernaut. Street Fighter 2, the game that really sparked the fighting game revolution at 22 million. You talking about Smash Bros. For the Nintendo 3DS, which sold over 140 million units? The Wii U didn't really sell shit, but the Nintendo 3DS, and you talking about a Smash Brothers on a portable device? You talking about Smash Brothers Brawl, which fucking 20 years after that game launched, it was still in the competitive scenes, still being seen at Evos and stuff like that? These are juggernauts. And then you have MKX that is like right behind Smash Brothers Brawl at 12 million units. MKX being a game that is considered well liked within the Mortal Kombat community. Most people like Mortal Kombat X. But if you look at Mortal Kombat 11, that game sold 3 million units more than Mortal Kombat X. If Mortal Kombat 11 was as bad as the vocal minority would like you to believe, within the first year, sales would have dropped off. Granted, the first year, initial sales may have been high because people being high off the fact that they enjoyed Mortal Kombat X so much would have purchased the game. That's kind of what's happening with MK1 right now. People who really enjoyed Mk11 jumped in and bought Mk1 early and stuff like that. But we're going to see with Mk1. Like, there's already people predicting that there's no way that Mk1 gets anywhere near the sales of Mk11. And that's because Mk1, for all intents and purposes, most people believe that that's not really a good game. And I'm of the opinion that it's not a better game than Mk11. And the sales will prove that it's not better than Mk11. I actually believe it's not even better than MKX. And sales will prove that it's not going to be better than MKX. The sales are going to prove that. But when it comes to MK11, sales don't matter anymore. You feel me? Sales don't matter. The game is still bad. Even though it sold 15 million, it's teetering on being the third best selling fighting game of all time. Mortal Kombat X is a great game. Chances are there's a good shot that the initial sales for MK11 was due to the fact that MKX was received so well. But after that first year of sales, you feel me, word of mouth would have got out. You know what I mean? Not just from content creators, shitting on the game, but through word of mouth from people who have friends and family who have Mortal Kombat 11. They would have told you, nah, this game trash, don't buy it. But that's not what happened. Friends and families, mothers and children was telling their friends, peers, family members, yo, go out and buy MK11. The game's good. And the sales reflect that. Hence the reason MK11 is sitting at 15 million units, 3 million units above MKX, which was the previous champion in terms of sales, which is a game that is debatably better than MK11. Now, with me, MKX and MK11, they're damn near tied for best Mortal Kombat game of all time, in my opinion. I tend to lean a little bit more than MK11, towards MK11, but I'm not going to argue with you if you say MKX is the best, because honestly speaking, like, yo, it's a toss-up on some real shit. But sales agree with me. So that's all I want to talk about in this particular video. Also, if you go to Steam or whatever, you look up MK11 on Steam, it's sitting at very positive. Very positive. With the recent reviews being, 858, that's very positive. You look at all reviews at over 70,000 reviews, and that's very positive. Not positive, not mixed, not bad, not whatever. Very positive. And this was a game that at launch, a lot of people shitted on it because I want to say because of the grind and the microtransactions and stuff like that it had in the game, that the vocal minority amped up to be a big deal that it never was, the deal that it never was. And over time, people realized that vocal minority that was shitting on the game because of the initial, microtransactions and stuff like that, which was never a big deal to begin with, and the grind that was never really a big deal to begin with, they realized, like, nah, regardless of all that, this shit is still a good game. This was always a good game, regardless of what the vocal minority says. And sitting on Steam, very positive. I might need to look at my PlayStation account to see like what the temperature is on that, but it won't surprise me if it's like really positive on PlayStation and even on Xbox. You feel me? And again, the sales reflect that. So with that being said, if you agree with me, do you think MK11 sales reflects the fact that it's actually a good game? If not, leave it in the comments below. Let me know. Like, share, subscribe. And if you like the intro music and the outro music, check out the Adrian Rockstar SoundCloud in the descriptions below.
Boys in the hood with big dreams of being superstars. Don't let nobody tell you that you can't, but you gotta work super hard.